Welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast, your backstage pass to the mystical realm. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and here, gifted souls step up to the mic sharing their spiritual journey. We're hitting the high notes and the low notes of their awakening, creating a symphony of enlightenment. This isn't just another interview show. This is where divine insights are channeled and universal truths are revealed. So crank up your stereo and sit back, because who knows, this just might help you compose the next transformative chapter of your soul's purpose. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Drop the Needle podcast. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and I'm so happy you all decided to join us. What if the most powerful version of you isn't something you need to become? It's something you need to unveil. Dr. Kelly Edmonds combines divine channeling with doctorate-level understanding of transformation to help awakened souls remember who they really are. Spoiler alert, she's not here to fix you because you're not broken. She's here to help you dissolve the programming that's been hiding your magic. Her clients say things like, "My whole energy field has shifted, and I finally understand my gifts." So, if you're ready to meet the version of you that is always meant to rise, let's get to it and welcome Dr. Kelly Edmonds. Welcome, Kelly.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here, Jim.
Well, thank you for making the time. I do appreciate it. Why don't you take a moment and let everyone know a little bit about your background?
Well, in the spiritual world, I have been working with energy and divine beings and tarot cards and crystals and all that great fun stuff in sort of the metaphysical world for about 35 years. And I retired from my career about 6 years ago, and a couple of years into my retirement, after, traveling and having a ball, I just really had this huge urge to come back and be what I essentially am, is an energy healer. I love doing that with people. I love working with them. I get divine readings and we clear a lot of their blockages in their body, and it's really quite enlightening.
Excellent.
And then fast forward, my business, I've evolved it to more one-to-many. And now I'm teaching, because my career was teaching. So I'm teaching more how to help people ascend, how to help people evolve.
Okay.
And spiritual way.
Excellent. So I can't help but notice a little bit of an accent. Where are you located?
I'm Canadian.
Aha!
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, which is just north of Montana. I'm snuggled in the Rocky Mountains.
Excellent. Well, isn't technology grand? I mean, the fact that we can talk to people all over the world is amazing to me. So let's go ahead and dive on in a little bit here, because I know that your practice is really based on helping people get over that hump, the spiritual plateau. Why don't we talk a little bit about that and what's involved with it? And actually, what does it mean on a spiritual or metaphysical level when somebody hits a wall?
I think what happens is, people get into, beautiful practices like yoga and positive affirmations and, really trying to nurture their soul, trying to nurture their body, trying to nurture their feelings. And this is part of their awakening, realizing, hey, there's something bigger than just what I see every day. There's something bigger within me than just this role I've been playing, in my family and in my career. And they start to do these beautiful things, and small shifts start to happen. But there gets to a point, I think, in their evolution, and I think it's very natural, where they have questions they need answers to. So deeper life questions, like, why am I here, really? Like, who am I?
Sure.
What's the spiritualness body part of me? Did I come from somewhere else? Like, what is my purpose here? And it's a beautiful time, a natural progression to go deeper and deeper into why you're here, who you are, how the cosmos work, all that sort of exploration. And that's sort of like the next level up. And I work with people who have plateaued from the feeling good stage and having fun experimenting with different things. And I did too. It was like spiritual kindergarten. You tried all different methods and traditions and practices. Yeah, okay, I need to go deeper. I need to really know what's going on here. And that's what I went through myself too.
Okay. Well, thank you. I was just, as you were discussing it, and we're all energetic beings, right? I'm wondering what happens, what's that feeling energetically when somebody hits that plateau?
It is sort of like you said, we're all energy. Even the physical part of us is just condensed energy. We have energy fields around our body. We have energetic centers and channels in our body. And I think what starts to happen when you're starting off and you're doing these things that are starting to open up energy channels in your body. So maybe you do some chakra clearing, or maybe you go for a Reiki session, or maybe you sit in meditation every morning. What happens is it starts to move out old energetic blocks and also starts to shift your mind in understanding a new reality. And our outer bodies, our subtle bodies, are include, I should say, the mental and the emotional body. Those have to be really quite clear to get to our outer body, which is our spirit body. That's our soul connection. That's our room we go into when we want to work with our soul, when we want to work with divine beings. It's much clearer in there. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So now we have to work through mental stuff. We have to work through emotional stuff, but on an energetic level, like from an energetic perspective, as opposed to traditional therapies.
Gotcha. Okay. So you had mentioned you've been doing this for 35 plus years. And through doing my research, I had seen that you had said that you were born with the sight. And you're saying, the thing that I found interesting was that you said born with the sight rather than awakening to those abilities. What was your childhood like then, when you were able to see all these things that other people couldn't see or experience?
And I think anyone else listening right now who had maybe the same childhood experiences, and there's many, they call us empathetic
Sure.
kids,
Oversensitive.
all that sort of stuff. Is my dad said I used to walk around with knitted eyebrows all the time. And that was probably, I was trying to figure things out because I could see things, I could sense things, I could read people, but you don't know you're doing it. You just think that is just the information that's coming into your body, right?
Right.
And as a child, you can't process those things. And so I think I was just a little overloaded, and I was very sensitive in that way. But yeah, I mean, my whole Irish side, we're psychic. I mean, I know that seems to be a taboo word anymore, but I'm bringing it back. I'm making it sexy again. Right? We're just psychic
back.
I'm bringing the word psychic back as opposed to, intuitively, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, you're psychic, and that means you just pick up on messages quite easily. So I had that wiring, and I think many people do. I had that wiring, and I'm here to help people bring that wiring back up to snuff so that they're able to channel it as well. Yeah. So I think, and then I think it really bothered me in my teens because because not only, and this applies to everybody, and this is really something people need to think about, is we absorb energy like sponges. So if we're just this big ball of energy walking around in this world that's full of energy, and we walk by another person who's a big ball of energy, we pick up their energy in a shopping mall, or we have an argument with somebody, then there's energy cords connecting to us and we're picking up their energy. Imagine never clearing that out. And I think that's one of the biggest things out there in terms of people are confused or upset. They can't process things. Why am I feeling like this today? I was fine this morning. And I think as a child, and so by my teenage years, I was probably pretty overloaded of absorbing. And then I just moved into, drugs and alcohol. Not in my teens, in my early 20s, right? Just numbing all that stuff until I was about 32, and I discovered all these beautiful spiritual practices. And Eastern philosophy. And I went, wait a minute.
Well, I have a question for you, because I have a number of friends that are Irish Catholic and first and second generation here. I'm curious to know what your family thought about that, because I know how some of my friends' families actually respond to even my podcast. It's not even that I'm bringing, psychic abilities or, anything like that into the household, but just talking about having a podcast, they have a visceral response at times. So I'm curious to know what that was like in your family.
Well, growing up, from the Celtic stem family area, all my grandmother and my aunts were all psychic openly. So it was a natural thing.
Really? So,
Oh yeah,
okay.
my dad would tell me stories when they were all growing up. One of the sisters would wake up with a dream and it always came true. So they'd listen to what they dreamt at nighttime. My dad swears when he was a little kid, he saw the wee folk. So it was very normal.
Okay.
And they're Catholic as well.
Okay.
And so then in my growing up household, my mom had premonitions. She never really practiced it, but she'd have these premonitions. And my dad was just, it was very much part of our family. And I remember him did say to me once when I started to explore spirituality, maybe, around early 30s, late 20s. And he said, be careful, kid, don't go too far. Meaning there is the whole dark side, which I've come to learn about and how to protect yourselves. Because, when you start to open yourself up like that, then you do attract and you can be manipulated. So I understand now what he meant then. But, and there's also black magic, which I'm not into any of that. I deal with the light, I deal with divine. That's my choice. I could go that way. I could cast curses if I wanted to. I do not do that.
Gotcha.
Because once you do that, you're attracting the same back to you.
Yeah, you know what? You kind of surprised me with that. I was actually thinking there was going to be hey, don't talk about that. Don't don't say those things. But that's really fascinating to me that even then, like growing up, it was accepted. You don't hear that very often, to be honest. That's something. So I know that you have a new book coming out, and some of the topics that are in the book itself, from our pre-show conversation, you had mentioned divine ascension. So what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is talk about divine ascension, or maybe the mechanics of rising or what have you. Can you do that?
Absolutely. Divine ascension starts with divine awareness, and it is really embracing and believing that you are a spiritual being in a human body, that you're here for a reason in terms of a soul contract. You're coming down here to learn some lessons, and we're able to do that because in the spiritual realms, in the unseen world, it's very hard for them to accelerate into their learnings and expansion. But coming down into this, 4D container of a body, a human body, and playing with emotions and playing with mental struggles and living in a messy world, it is a thing to do. The fact this is what I'm learning there. And I do go into more serious studies with all this, and it's from ancient traditions that I learned this stuff. I'm just not making it up. Is we're highly regarded for coming down here and dealing with all this down here. But as we evolve, as we learn how to deal with problems, as we expand our wisdom, as we open our awareness to how things are working between us and the cosmos and why we're here, it's a game changer, because you realize. And then the real trick is after that is, okay, how do I marry my spiritual life with my human life?
Right.
And that's what I really try to help people with, because I struggled for years with it.
So there are a couple of things that you had mentioned earlier when you were describing divine ascension. Number one, you said you mentioned soul contracts. I'd what guests have mentioned soul contracts in the past, but I don't know that there's ever been an explanation or a follow-up. So when you're talking about a soul contract, what do you mean by that?
A soul contract is in your spiritual essence, in your spiritual form, before you come and incarnate into a human being. You're a soul. That you and your soul are the same person.
Right.
So you're this soul, and you're evolving too up there. There's a whole layers of dimension and ascension up in the unseen world as well. There's angelic realms. There's hierarchies, I should say, and so when you decide to come down to earth, you go, okay, these are the things I want to keep building on so that my energetic essence, my energy field, my energy structure, which I teach about, becomes more lighter, right? So I get rid of some blocks. For example, I'll give you an example. I've been really struggling with over my life, and it keeps coming up, and it's from my past lives, and I'll share how I come up with that, is abandonment. I think a lot of people have this notion of abandonment. And I can see it sometimes play out in my current life. So maybe that's one of the things I came in to do. I want to come in and I want to resolve this issue of abandonment, because we're all one. It's one big consciousness. We're one big energetic, intellectual swimming pool, right? We're all in this. That's the highest ascension I believe you can go to. And I don't have all the answers, believe me. If I did, I don't think I'd be here on earth. But I kept coming up in my past lives, like horrible experiences. I had leprosy once. I lived in a leper colony. I was left to die in a cave, right? Different lifetimes, right? Abandoned. There's people in my life right now who we had flipped roles. Maybe I can't remember if my sister was my mother. Anyways, they didn't
I hear
treat me.
that the soul families
They
usually
didn't treat
follow
me
along.
well.
Okay.
They were cruel to me. They weren't loving. And so I have seen that repeat in this lifetime with people close to me. And I'm finally starting to get it. So what do you do with the issue of abandonment? You increase your self-love. You increase your awareness, like, wait a minute, I have these amazing spirit guides around me. I've got the love of the universe, angelic presence. You start to go through this growth. And this is just an example. So maybe that's one of the things I needed to learn. I'm down here. So I'm going to dive deeper into that. Right. And what do I do too now? And now that I'm aware of that, I'm going to keep nurturing that. But at the same time, I also have amazing people around me who don't give me that sense of they're going to abandon me or hurt me. I'm focusing on them. The rest, I'll be a, casual acquaintance,
Sure.
Even if they're a family member, it's like, I'll see you twice a year. I'll be cordial.
So with the divine ascension, it seems whenever someone has an awakening or during the awakening process, there's some sort of supreme suffering or crisis that plays a role in that. Are you seeing that with your clients, that they discuss those sort of things and then have to clean up that past trauma before they can move on?
Yeah, if they're at that point, and they may have already, moved on to some of it, or are starting to be more empathetic with themselves around an issue. And it's easier to delve into a sticky emotional challenge if you can start to build up your self-love and acceptance first, because then you can look at it more objectively. And that's what I teach is too. It's like how to work with your emotions energetically and get out into those bodies. Sometimes you just need to clean junk out of your energy fields that isn't even really yours, or it's so old it should have been long gone, but it's still hanging around energetically. That's why energy work, I'm seeing more and more, is so important. And this energy field, this energy structure, is the only thing that moves on to the next life or wherever you're going after this. That is so important. So now it's a good time to clean up your house as much as you can in this lifetime. I mean, we're not all going to become a beautiful ascended masters and gurus, right?
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a responsibility, I would imagine too. So you had actually started to talk about how to bring that spiritual life into your normal life, or your I shouldn't say normal life, because spirituality becomes the norm in people's lives, but a human connection there. I know that was another area that's going to be hit pretty heavily in your upcoming book, Human Connection. And really, I view it as a paradox of going higher while staying here. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, that human connection, and how that the inner workings of spirituality and us on this 4D plane that we're on.
Yes, I think it's a fascinating topic, and I've just been noticing the a lot of people will work on the three things I talk about in my book. They'll either work on the divine awareness and ascension. Mm-hmm. They'll work on energy mastery, like I've been talking about, working with your energy field,
right.
Or they'll work on the embodiment part, or two of those, but not all three. I think you need all three. We are spiritual beings in a human body working with energy fields.
Sure, so they're all interconnected.
Exactly. And so that's the marrying that's starting to go on. So when you're talking about the human body, first of all, just its essence of like billions of cells that are like miraculously working and picking up on, again, energy and intelligence, and like the body's just amazing, just starting with that alone. It's able to function on its own. And then I also move into now your ancestral bloodlines, your inherited behaviors, the wisdom that they had, like it could fill a football field of people, your ancestors are in your bloodline. Mm-hmm. And then I also start working with Mother Earth, her rhythms connect with our rhythms. That's why we love going for walks, being on the beach and water, being in a park around trees. Our body just responds to
energy that comes from those things.
And the animal kingdom, right? The messages they bring us. So this amazing platform environment that we live in, and this body, this vehicle, is so much more complex than, I got to get up and go to work. And when we start to look at it that way, we start to play with different areas of that and then connect the spirituality to it, right? And realize, okay, so I have this ability to experience life fully. And that's the messy stuff. That's the good stuff. Yeah. That's the hard stuff. That's having a bunch of fun. That's enjoying pleasure. I mean, it's just, that's the whole human side. And you need to find that core in you to go, I need to kick this out and really start to enjoy life a lot more. And it doesn't mean for those introverts who are panicking right now, right. It doesn't mean you got to be out in the public.
Change your personality, right?
Exactly. It's not about that. It's about these small shifts that create new awakenings.
So what's interesting here is, and I'll speak from my own perspective here, my own point of view, is that in relationships, the people don't necessarily change or ascend together, or their frequency or vibrational levels are at different points or different levels. I'm wondering what that does to relationships. Does it make them harder, more difficult? Or how do you, and I'll just get right down to it, is how do you love someone who's vibrating at a completely different frequency than you are?
Yeah, that is difficult. I remember when I first met my husband, which has been like 25 years now, and I was really upfront saying, listen, I'm into healing and psychic. And he says, yeah, I believe in the Fae. We have the Scottish background. And I went, okay, great. So I didn't expect him to be like that, but I most certainly was going to be like that. And so even to this day, he's very, very supportive of my business. I don't think he really understands the depth of what I go into. I don't share it with him because it's not his thing, but he's so supportive, and he knows I'm a healer, and he knows I'm psychic, and my whole, step family here that I've married into, they all know that. Like it's not a problem. I have to be that in order to survive. I would hide it
Sure.
for a long, long time.
I get that.
So I think what happens too, Jim, is when we start to awaken more and more, the tougher decisions start to come about. What do I need to align around me to support me? And maybe a difficult relationship is part of the soul contract. So, okay, I really need to move into this ability to accept on a whole other level. Maybe that's part of the emotional experiences somebody is supposed to go through in order to up that wisdom, and it crystallizes more in our energetic structure. So everything we do that's good and moving and awakening and growing strengthens that energetic structure, that essence of who we are, our consciousness. So yeah, it can be difficult. And I like to tell people, just to end, I like to tell people that are a little afraid to jump into this whole new spiritual journey. You know, is their life going to radically change? And I'd say, don't worry about that. As you start to grow, things are starting to shift. It could be very small things like, I'm just not going to watch movies like that anymore because I really don't think it's good for my psyche. Or I really want to add church to my life, or whatever, right? So it's these shifts where it's not this radical change, but it could come to the point where a relationship is just not fulfilling that person, and it's blocking them from growing after some deep reflection, you know.
Yes, I was actually going to ask you when you were talking about the what happens in these are marriages, friendships, careers, when someone goes through a deep transformation such as this.
You know, like when it comes to friendship, I've had a couple of friends that I've just cooled off from because I really noticed that they were manipulative, and it was always about them. It was actually so subtle. And and you kick yourself going, why didn't I see that before? Is that why I always felt, sort of icky around this person? Is that why they sort of irritated me? And then you realize as you start to grow and maybe you start to see some of the challenges, like for me, abandonment, that maybe that person was like, if you want to be with me, you got to do all this stuff. Right?
Ultimatums.
But it was subtle. It wasn't like bully-like. It was subtle. And I just realized, no, I'm not doing that. You're not a very true friend, and you're who you
not
are.
the boss of me.
Yeah. I'll wave at you on the street, but I'm not inviting you over for dinner.
Okay. So I know we've talked about energy and in the book Energy Mastery, and most people know about chakras and auras at a very surface level. After 35 years, what do you understand about energy that the beginner type books or what have you don't teach?
I don't think they teach about that energetic structure and then how all the components within it that I've been talking about, and how it all works together, and how you can reach those other outer subtle bodies, which is a lighter and lighter version of you that vibrates. That's where your frequency increases when you want to increase your frequency and vibration. How to work with those by working with your chakras or working with different power points in your body to reach those. And even through pranic healing, which is a beautiful method of energy healing, how to actually, clear out some of those subtle bodies. Those are the ones that are your aura, that people call them, that are so important. And of course, so are your physical body. So if people have it, I'll even go extreme and saying, as people start having mental health issues, or people are starting to be burdened with this ever looping emotion, or they're starting to get physically ill, it starts out in the subtle bodies. That's so in order to get there, you got to start working with the chakras and the meridians, channels, and all that. So it sounds overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, where do you start? And I just taught that in a masterclass yesterday. We did a guided journey visualization. I took them through really deep into doing a body scan with our healing guides. And it's like, hey, where's the most immediate point in my body? Do I need to have to heal? And one lady said, it went right to my, lower abdomen and my stomach area and my intestines. She says, I have issues there. And I said, well, that's where the sacral chakra is. And that's the most loaded one when it comes to emotions and feelings of security and sexuality. That's all in there. And so
creativity and everything else, right?
And I wasn't suggesting, because I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a doctor of education, is that could be one of the reasons, why this is happening. And so time to delve into there. You can spend a lot of time just on that one beautiful chakra. Our chakras are amazing. They pack a huge punch of so many different complex levels of us, from our creativity, like you said, to our feelings of security, all the way up to divine connection, to our expression, to our sense of love, our drive. And they're really, really beautiful to work on. So it's not like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get all this cleaned up by next Saturday? It's not like that at all. You can't. So it is that journey. But when you start to heal immediate pieces, when you really listen to your body and you tap into your soul, and that with your intuition, and these are all the things I teach. But when you start to really listen to your body, which is more intelligent than us, our body, like we get gut feelings, right? Or a body, you just know you shouldn't have eaten that thing, but you did.
The old gut brain, right?
Yeah. And you even just start at that level of going, okay, where do I need to work on first? And then move into the energetics of that. Okay, what energy center is this? Like, what does that mean? What do I need to work on? And it takes a while. I mean, I'm 64 and I just sort of got it about the abandonment thing, right?
That's interesting, for sure. So if you talk about the energetic body as technology, and I know that you work with meridians, chakras, and multiple modalities, is there a unified field theory at work with these, as in how these systems talk to each other?
Absolutely. Like I said, but the subtle bodies, these just get lighter and lighter. It's almost like it's your antenna system, and the outer body is your spirit body. So that is your human body's energy field that can it is connected to your soul, and it can now communicate with, divine essences, realities, dimensions. So it's about clearing the highway to that thing. And the two you have to get by is the emotion and mental, which is two of the biggest challenges that people have in this world. If you think of all the counseling and therapy and anxiety and fear, anger, that's at play right there, at play. Like a person who's really angry and hateful, I feel for them, to tell you the truth. I used to hate them too, but I feel for them. It's like, man, you are struggling. You know what's underneath hate and fear and all that? Love. It's a fear of you don't have the love, you not be given the love, you've been rejected at love, you don't belong. Like everyone's sitting in prison. I always think of these prisoners going deep, deep down, they're hurt little boys and girls. And I don't mean to minimize them, but they're hurt. They got hurt. And now they're expressing it in ways, and they're defending themselves, and then they went too far. Right. And so, but inside of them is a beautiful soul, and they've got a big life journey. They have a big spiritual path.
So I know that you actually refer to yourself as a energy alchemist. Is there a difference between then an energy alchemist and an energy healer?
I think an energy alchemist brings all of the pieces together, because our thought forms are energy. So we think of something, poof, goes out there.
Right.
When we feel something, poof, it goes out there. So it's working with everything energetically, and we are energetically connected to the universe, the cosmos, the divine realms. So it's just this great big sea of energy, and it's like how to manage all of that, right? And how to understand it, and how to also protect yourself energetically. So deal on a lot of, and I delve into into a lot of elements around energy as opposed to just healing.
Okay.
Which, yeah.
So speaking of healing, can someone actually become their own healer, or do we always need outside interventions at certain thresholds?
I believe, and I now am teaching people how to become their own self healers, working with energy. I believe everyone can do it themselves. I work on myself every day. In fact, it's before I get out of bed, right? So you're really in that zone of relaxed. And I just do some really quick, simple, get rid of energy out of my body I don't want anymore. I zap all of my, activate all of my chakras. I pull stuff out of them. I request universal light to come down into my body, that we have a grid around us, this beautiful grid full of crystals. I just activate that. So that takes about 10, 15 minutes. And unfortunately, I think I wake my husband up when I'm doing that because there's just more energy. So we usually get up about the same time.
The Taurus field, is that the energetic field around us?
I do that too. And you can do that, but you have to, I stand up to do it to get this energy flowing from the top down, from the bottom up. And I just get that whole thing going when I'm, making my morning drink. I get that going as well. And those are the things, but it's removing energy I don't want. Especially if I've been anywhere, I've picked up energy, and I always forget to put a white light around me so I don't pick up the other people's energy. And so it's getting rid of that. And so clearing, illuminating, and then energizing it with that whole Taurus realm. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the late great Pat Longo used to say, surround, ground, and shield, all that before you would go out into those crowds of people, or just anywhere outside of your own environment that you've got this level, this frequency or energy that is consistent, I've got one more question before we jump into the musical questions. And it's, if you could give someone just one practice that addresses ascension, connection, and energy mastery all at the same time, what would it be?
It would be shifting your perception that you are this beautiful spiritual being. You are worthy. You can connect. You can talk to Jesus. You can talk to God. You can talk to Buddha. You can talk to Archangel Michael, who came to me the other day. You are this amazing spiritual being. And don't ever forget that. And when you understand that, then you go, okay, now I got to start dealing with the human side, or I have to understand that a little bit more and embrace it.
I love that. I love that. And I would wholeheartedly support and agree with what you just said. I couldn't have said it better even if I wanted to. So thank you for your answer on that. Okay, so as anyone can tell you that's ever listened to the podcast, this is the section where I get to ask some musical questions of the guest. And as I mentioned regularly, I believe that music is the tie that binds. And I also believe that everyone has a soundtrack that accompanies their life if they just take a moment to think about it. So are you ready to go into our musical questions?
Sure.
All right. What was the first song you fell in love with on the radio? Or one that you heard that you can remember saying that I can't wait to hear that song again?
I was about 7, and we were allowed to watch TV Friday night and Saturday morning. That was it, with some chips and dip. And I fell in love with David Cassidy on the Partridge Family. That was a TV show. And they were a musical family, so they sang, and he sang I Think I Love You. I don't know the title of the song, but
that's it. No, that is.
I was in love with David Cassidy, and I would sing that at the top of my lungs. And
I don't think you were alone there, which was why I was on Friday nights. Okay, so did your family have a song that everyone would belt out on road trips or vacations when you were growing up? Or it could be with friends when you were in school or in college or what have you.
Well, with my family, we traveled a lot because my dad was in the Canadian Air Force. So we were always on free flights somewhere, and we lived in Europe most of my childhood. And even in the car, because we travel everywhere in Europe every summer, we would sing, "Here we go into the wild blue yonder. Here we go into the wild blue yonder." And we'd be singing it with him. And I don't remember the rest of the
Up
words.
we go into the sky. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we
Yeah.
obviously did that more on planes. You might have been doing that just to calm our nerves, because we were like on Hercules cargo, planes, because it
Oh,
was
yeah.
free. It was free, right? So we were
Sure.
flying all over the place. We'd swinging in these little red canvas seats, and it was
Yeah.
so loud back there. And there's like, crates of goods back. Oh man, it was hilarious.
I bet that would have been really neat as a child traveling that way, though. That's probably a wonderful memory. So, what was your favorite song that you and your friends would belt out in your senior year of high school?
Um, at home we had limited channels, but we always had the theater. There was no streaming back then. Now we're into the late 70s.
Oh,
When I was a kid, it was the early 60s. So with David Cassidy, but we went to the theater, and I saw the movie Grease 15 times.
Holy cow!
Every Saturday we'd go. Me and my two besties, we'd go, and then we really got into Grease Lightning. Yeah. What I Want in a Hand. I've got chills. They're multiplying. Yeah. So
You're the One That I Want.
Olivia Newton-John and
Hopelessly Devoted.
Yes, yeah, but it was like yeah. It was.
Did you guys
great.
do the hand jive thing in the
oh,
States?
yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. You can even go to karaoke where somebody or some places having a karaoke night, and people will do that hand jive thing as they're singing that song. So it's I kind of thought that maybe you guys would do that. So did your musical tastes change after high school when you were in college?
Absolutely. I discovered disco. So, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to say, but I became a disco queen. So on the weekends, Friday and Saturday night, we go and we dance into the wee mornings, and we like do the hustle, and Saturday Night Live, not Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Fever, all that music. And we danced and we danced and we danced. Yeah.
The Bee Gees. So did you also do the skating thing with that? The roller skating?
No.
Yeah, here that I remember like roller skating and doing the dancing, and everything was really popular too. So that's interesting.
We didn't have that in Canada. That's quite interesting. No, it was discotheques.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
With the strobe light and that ball and the glass mirror ball, and oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I spent like a good 5 years discoing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what's a song that gets your positive juices flowing?
Bruno Mars, Uptown Funk. Put it on and I can't stop moving. I bust into moves I didn't even know I had. I feel it afterwards. But I just love that. I love the beat, and he's just so adorable too.
It's a great song, and he is quite talented. Funny side story, my youngest, they would play that song over and over, and he turned to me one day and he goes, "Do you think Bruno Mars is talking about Julio Jones, who was a wide receiver at the time for the Atlanta Falcons? Do you think he's saying Julio Jones, go get the stretch?" I was just like, no, probably not. But anyway, what's the name of a song that's your guilty pleasure that you wouldn't want necessarily anybody knowing that it's on your playlist?
And then one I sing with my hairbrush, you mean?
Sure. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Whitney Houston. What's that one? I'll Always Love You.
Yeah.
The Dolly Parton, and like
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gonna belt it
Man,
out
Dad.
right now?
No, I wish I had
The
those
big
pipes, man.
chorus. Oh,
Big
yeah.
finish. Big finish.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I had a voice like that. But yeah,
She had
yep.
quite a voice.
And I have to
She was
put my
magical.
ear pods in and do it myself because my husband, he's not into that
Doesn't.
type of music.
Oh,
No, he's
okay.
not into Whitney Houston.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. And you're very kind to do that. Um, so, what is a song that you believe could change the way people think or feel about the world around them positively if they just listen to the lyrics?
I'd have to say I was really moved by. It's funny, I'm not that moved by lyrics. I think one of the reasons is I am not an auditory learner, so I get
Okay.
the words wrong, just like your son. My husband will go, "That's not the line. It's not." And
They
so,
have a book with mistaken song lyrics, right?
like,
That
yeah, with Blue Rodeo, there's that bad timing. That's all. I always thought it was that time in Nassau.
ah, well, yeah, what is it, Jimi Hendrix? Uh, instead of "Excuse me while I kiss the sky," it's "Excuse me while I kiss this guy," and I was just like, yeah, that okay, cool. So, so
Anyways,
what's your
um,
song?
well, the song that really hit me, I think it must have been from the 90s, We Are the World. And that's when all the stars came together, like Michael Jackson. It was led by Quincy Jones. Oh, thank you. It all feels like 5 years ago. Quincy Jones and, just all the stars singing stars at that time did a beautiful coming together. And Bob Geldof, I think, arranged this whole
Yeah,
charity.
yeah,
Yeah, and it was just so beautiful. And it's like, we are the world and we have to help each other. We have to
that,
heal together. We have to
that's a good
stop
one.
this violence and cruelty.
Oh yeah, it's certainly a good song, especially for that, the message. So this happens to be my favorite question. And it's sometimes there are songs you hear that ring so true that they can stop you in your tracks. And the song's lyrics either sound like they were written specifically for you or by you. What's that song?
Um, I'm just starting to get into goddess work. And so the goddess work it's not like a worshiping or anything like
Hmm.
that, but it's about, and I think this is really helping me with my groundedness, my humanness, and my Celtic connection, my blood is I know my female, ancestors, my grandmothers, they did worship goddess. And
Okay.
I don't know what their rituals were. Like my immediate grandmother loved the goddess Bridget. And I also didn't know that the Celtic cross, on a gravesite, there's a ring around it.
Right.
That's because the Catholics, anyways, couldn't quite accept Christianity. This is my father told me. He grew up in it. So that's the moon around the cross. So they
Interesting.
brought some of their paganism with them. And so I just know my grandmothers did, and it's feeling so good to connect. So there's some amazing, beautiful, stirring music out there that is sort of goddess centered. And
Hmm.
Lorena McKinnon, I think she's Canadian. I'm just starting to learn some of the other people's names, women that are singing it. And it's so feminine and it's so powerful. And it reveres, the goddess energy. And I'm really starting to enjoy that. But when I sit down in the morning and I'm working, like I start to work, I
Hmm.
really try to stay in a certain space. Like when I'm creating or I'm answering emails, I put on crystal bowl sounds.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it just tingles, right? Whereas the goddess, they have words and stuff like that, and so it sort of I get distracted. So I just need to go into this zone, and that's how I work is to
Uh,
these beautiful crystal
I'm a
bowl
big
soundscapes.
advocate of that. My best friend who happens to live in Qatar does soundscapes and she does sound healing and therapy. She's a clinical therapist and she uses that in her practice as well. And she is really quite accomplished. Her name's Carrie Muller, and her soundscapes, and I listen to a lot of them, believe me, they are the best soundscapes that I have ever heard. hands down.
I remember you shared, I have to look into her name. I'm always cautious with ever putting myself into a place where energy is being emitted. I'm very select what I expose myself to or
Certainly.
who works on me. And so there's this whole world I'm starting to explore a little bit too, and that's sound frequencies. And I think they can be very, very quick. I think, yeah.
Is amazing from that, especially because if you consider the fact that your body is 80% water, and what frequency and sound does to water, and those frequencies that she uses for very specific reasons or means in a healing process really start to come through you. Especially, I mean, they're very effective in a recorded platform, but in person, it is otherworldly. But anyway, I'd like to thank you for all of your answers. I'd like to thank you for your time as well. So big thanks to you.
My pleasure.
Well, it's just about time to cue the music for today's episode, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Drop the Needle podcast to stay up to date on our latest episodes. I would also like to take a moment to thank everyone again for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Drop the Needle podcast. And I'd also like to thank our very special guest, Dr. Kelly Edmonds, for being on our show today. Kelly, could you please let our listeners know how to get in touch with you?
My website has really everything in order how to,
And your web address is?
kellyedmonds.com, Edmonds with an O.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I invite you to head on over to our show notes where there's going to be a link from today's episode as well, the playlist from today's episode, I should say, as well as how you can get in touch with Kelly. All right, my Drop the Needle posse, like Billy Joel says, from the highs to the lows to the end of our show, this is the end of our show. Until next time, this is Jim Alstott wishing you infinite health, happiness, and the perfect playlist for your life. Thank you again for being the best part of us. Catch you next time.